Elon Musk has just done something that until now seemed unthinkable. He's challenging the authority of a government. Not with an army, not through a coup, but with his phone. At this very moment, Britain's Prime Minister is losing control. Not to Parliament, not to the electorate, but to a man commanding an audience of 200 million followers who simply decided he's had enough. And the most alarming part? It's working. The UK government appears to be unraveling in real time, and the strategy being deployed is both unprecedented and deeply unsettling. Because if this succeeds, every world leader around the globe will have reason to fear what comes next. Musk is proving that in 2025, one individual with the right platform can wield the kind of power that once required entire revolutions. Let's look at how this began. July 29, 2024, Southport, England. A horrific tragedy unfolded. 3 children were murdered at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. 6-year-old B.B. King, 7-year-old Elsie Stanholm, and 9-year-old Alistair Silver Aguar lost their lives. The nation grieved. But soon after, misinformation about the attacker's identity flooded social media, and that grief turned into chaos. Riots erupted across several cities. The government's response was swift. Mass arrests, but not just of those who rioted. Authorities began detaining individuals who merely shared posts online. More than 400 people were arrested in the following weeks. Roughly 30 arrests a day, many for social media activity alone. And here's where it turned truly dystopian. Take the case of Denise Borth, 55, from Cheshire. Police raided her home at dawn. Her crime? Resharing an existing post. No threats, no calls to violence, just pressing share. She now faces possible prison time. Then there's Peter Lynch, a 61-year-old grandfather who attended a protest. He didn't vandalize property or assault anyone, yet he was arrested, denied bail, and imprisoned. 8 weeks later, he was found dead in his cell, a suspected suicide. Meanwhile, actual offenders received lighter sentences. A convicted child abuser was given just 18 months behind bars. A man who posted 8 words on Facebook, "Don't come to Southport," was sentenced to 20 months. That was the tipping point. Musk saw an opportunity, and he didn't take it quietly. He launched a public offensive using his own platform. Soviet Britain, he called it, a police state arresting citizens for opinions while real criminals walked free. The British government underestimated him. A grave mistake. Because when you control the world's largest digital megaphone, you don't need permission to set the agenda. Musk flooded his audience with evidence. Arrest records, harsh sentences, and government statements, all amplified to hundreds of millions worldwide. Suddenly, Britain's justice system was under the global microscope, and it didn't look good. Officials scrambled to respond, accusing Musk of spreading falsehoods. Police forces even discussed the possibility of extraditing him, yes, attempting to bring charges against one of the world's most powerful men for criticizing their actions online. The irony, of course, was impossible to ignore. Then Elon Musk dropped what can only be described as a political nuclear bomb, the moment that changed everything. He resurrected a scandal Britain has spent 2 decades trying to forget. Between 1997 and 2013, organized grooming gangs across multiple towns, Rotherham, Rochdale, Telford, Newcastle, Oxford, and Derby, systematically abused children. In Rotherham alone, at least 400 victims were identified. Experts now believe the true figure nationwide could exceed 100,000. The details are horrifying. Children as young as 11 were raped, trafficked, and terrorized into silence. Some were doused in petrol and threatened with being set on fire if they spoke. Others were forced to witness assaults on younger victims. Many were drugged and passed between groups of men like property. And through it all, the police knew, social workers knew, local politicians knew. Yet for years, they did almost nothing. Why? Official inquiries revealed the answer. Authorities feared being accused of racism. They described the investigations as too complex, too sensitive, and quietly looked away as children continued to suffer. This is where Musk's intervention became politically devastating. Because at the center of that timeline sits Britain's current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. From 2008 to 2013, Starmer served as Director of Public Prosecutions, leading the Crown Prosecution Service during the height of these scandals. Under his leadership, prosecutors dismissed victims as unreliable witnesses. They claimed juries wouldn't convict. They argued that the cases were too hard to prove, and dropped them. An internal memo from 2008, later exposed by whistleblowers, admitted that officials were aware of the ongoing exploitation, but advised against action that could be seen as discriminatory. Years later, when survivors finally had their day in court, their testimonies proved true all along. The system had chosen disbelief and silence. Musk made that connection explicit. In a single post, he accused Starmer of complicity in one of Britain's worst mass crimes, of prioritizing political optics over the protection of children. That message detonated across the internet. International media could no longer ignore it. Questions once buried under bureaucracy were suddenly being debated in Parliament, splashed across newspaper front pages, and discussed on television screens worldwide. But Musk didn't stop there. Reports suggest he has now shifted from criticism to active political warfare. His strategy appears to rest on three pillars. First, amplification. Using his vast platform to spotlight every government failure, every double standard, every scandal, ensuring Britain's injustices remain global talking points. Second, alignment. Quietly signaling support for opposition forces, particularly Reform UK, whose leader, Nigel Farage, has been rising in the polls. Farage now appears alongside Musk at international events, a public signal of political alliance. And third, pressure, leveraging his close relationship with Donald Trump and his control of key technologies like Starlink to exert economic and diplomatic influence on Britain itself. Individually, these steps might sound improbable, but consider what Musk actually commands. Influence over markets worth billions, direct access to a returning U.S. administration, and global communication infrastructure that governments rely on. Then came December 2024, the moment Musk crossed the constitutional line. He publicly urged King Charles III to dissolve Parliament and call snap elections. Such an act, against a sitting government's will, hasn't occurred since 1834. It would plunge Britain into a constitutional crisis. Musk posted, "Sometimes democracy needs a reset. When governments jail citizens for tweets while protecting grooming gangs, normal politics has failed." The impact was immediate. Dissolve Parliament trended worldwide. Ordinary Britons were suddenly discussing constitutional powers most had never heard of. Pressure on Downing Street intensified. Reform UK's polling numbers soared. Starmer's approval ratings crashed to historic lows. Even within Labour, MPs began whispering privately, had the government gone too far with its arrests and censorship policies? The counterattack came swiftly. Officials branded Musk a foreign agent, a racist, a megalomaniac with ulterior motives. But none of it stuck. Each accusation was met with evidence, court documents, government memos, official statistics. Because, as uncomfortable as it was for the establishment, the core facts Musk cited were true. This is no longer simply a story about British politics. It is a global test case for power in the digital age. Can governments still control the flow of information when billionaires own the platforms? Can national sovereignty withstand coordinated, borderless pressure from online movements? Can any state silence its citizens when the world is watching in real time? From Berlin to Brussels to Washington, leaders are watching nervously. If Elon Musk can destabilize a G7 government, who might be next? We are witnessing something without precedent in modern history. A private citizen, armed with a social media platform, openly challenging a sovereign government's authority, and at least for now, appearing to win. The old power structures are breaking down. State media, official narratives, tightly controlled information, all of it crumbles when a single post can reach 200 million people instantly. Evidence now travels faster than spin, Governments can no longer bury their failures in bureaucracy or press releases. The British establishment is learning in real time that it can neither silence critics nor fully control the narrative. As 2025 progresses, this crisis only intensifies. Every week brings fresh revelations. Every poll shows Keir Starmer weaker. The government looks increasingly cornered. And this is no longer a contest of personalities between Starmer and Musk. It's a struggle over whether citizens in a democracy can speak freely without facing dawn. Raids on their homes. It's a struggle over whether governments can still suppress dissent in the digital age, and whether powerful officials will ever face consequences for their most catastrophic failures. On one side stands a prime minister who once oversaw a system that abandoned abused children and is now accused of jailing citizens for social media posts. On the other, the world's most influential private citizen, with a direct line to the White House and a platform no government can switch off. The outcome of this confrontation will define how power operates for decades to come. Will the state prevail through the legal authority to arrest? Or will a digital outsider triumph through the power to expose? Legacy systems versus new platforms. Official control versus crowdsourced truth. The answer is being written right now, in real time. Peter Lynch died in a jail cell after attending a protest. Thousands of children were failed by the institutions meant to protect them. Ordinary people are being imprisoned for their words while violent criminals walk free. This is what happens when governments forget they are meant to serve the people, not rule them, when accountability becomes optional. But for the first time in history, a new kind of power is rising to challenge that assumption. Digital power. Global power. The power of truth spreading faster than lies. The power of exposure at scale. And here is the question that should keep every politician awake at night. If a government can be held accountable by a single billionaire with a platform, what happens when millions of citizens with smartphones demand the same? That is the real story unfolding here. Musk may be the loudest voice, but behind him are millions watching, sharing, demanding answers. The tools of accountability have been democratized. The megaphone is no longer held by the few. Are we witnessing the arrival of genuine digital accountability, or a dangerous, new form of interference in democracy? Is this the birth of a new check on government power, or the rise of oligarchic influence over sovereign nations? One thing is clear. The battle for Britain's future, the battle for free speech, and the battle over who truly holds power in the digital age are all happening right now. Don't just watch history unfold, understand it.